Hello, everyone. My name is Manal Al-Vadi. I'm from the Ministry of Tolerance and Coexistence, and we are happy to have you here today with us. And we are so happy for this opportunity to have His Excellency Mohammed Al-Fahim in one of the sessions with you guys. And if I'm going to introduce him, I would say that he's a really a great man. He had this great experience that he's sharing through the book that he wrote, and he will take the students today in a journey of time and reflect on the roots of the past, where tolerance and coexistence were values since the beginning of the UAE, and it's a basis in the community of the UAE. Your Excellency, the floor is yours, and we're really glad to have you here today with us.
All right, let's start from the beginning. There is no written proper documentation or history for Abu Dhabi and United Arab Emirates from the year, I would say, 1940 to 1970. And this is a very crucial time, very important time for Emirates, because during this time, a lot of things happened and a lot of events took place. And unfortunately, no one wrote about it or even put it down. I'm talking about locals, mainly because the locals were 95% illiterate. They can't read or write, and those who can read could not write. So nobody actually kept a record or wrote a document. When I came back from my studies in England, I started helping my father in his business. My work has nothing to do with journalism or with writing, but I was concentrating on expansion of my father's business and development of Abu Dhabi mainly, and I was concerned because a lot of foreigners used to come to my office and ask me, what were you doing before the oil? And what were you doing, where were you before Sheikh Zayed became the ruler? And how do you become a country and then a federation? I used to explain to them in my own way. However, over a period, those numbers of people increased, and I decided I might as well get someone to write a book. Since I'm not a journalist or an author, so I tried to find someone else to do the work because I was busy with my own business. I couldn't find anybody. So I decided, for the sake of the country, for the sake of the future, I will give myself a little bit of time from the business and go and write a book. And it took me about 18 months to do the research, to speak to the elders, to meet those who were present at the time, and to talk about their past, their history. So it took me quite a lot of work. And after 18 months, my dream was fulfilled. And I wrote it for mainly the youngster, from the young generation, to learn about their country's history, their country past, and their own fathers and grandfathers who were really responsible for the development. And of course, the main figure, the main personality that really made the biggest change in our life. After God, it is Sheikh Zayed. So we owe to Sheikh Zayed a lot for uh, literally transporting us from rags to riches. And I was, thank God, one of those people who were close with him. I see him often and I meet with him and we sit and I hear him talking in his majlis, and I saw how he takes decision and how he followed up with projects, with development. I was part and parcel of the majlis. However, except that I took notes, while many others who went to the majlis didn't really take notes. I took notes of what he was doing, what he says, what are the subjects that he talks about, and that those notes helped me to create a personality for him and write my book as I saw it. I saw things, the events unveiling. So I didn't expect the book will become a bestseller. I expected that at least I'm doing it for the younger generation. And I was hoping that they will benefit. However, I found out that the book is being read by a lot of visitors, by a lot of tourists, and the book became very popular to the extent that we had to translate it to about 14 languages. And I'm very thankful to God for those who took my book seriously and read it. However, just to give you an idea what the book contains, it contains our life, or the life of the Abu Dhabian from 1900 to 1966 when Sheikh Zayed became a ruler. What happened during those years? Those were very difficult years. Unfortunately, a lot of people died young because the average life among the inhabitants and the nationals was only 40 years old. When a person becomes 40 years old, he's considered old, really old, and if he gets sick, there's no medication, no hospitals, no clinics. They would treat him with local herbs and medication. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and the average lifespan is only 40 years old. So anyone above 40 today should thank God and Sheikh Zayed for the hospitals and the clinic and the health facilities that we have today. And the lifespan average today is around about I think 70 instead of 40 in the past. So very gratifying to know that. Now, the second problem we had no, of course, electricity until Sheikh Zayed came, and electricity was installed in our home in 1967, 1968. That is for those who had homes, because most of the homes that the Abu Dhabians were living in were palm tree leaves, ponds, they call them, and not brick houses. So you could not connect electricity to those houses. So Sheikh Zayed built uh, local for the locals some houses and connected with electricity. And of course, we were lacking. We had no roads, no gas, and no supermarkets or cinemas. And of course, we had no telephone. Communication was non-existent. If I needed, when I was studying in England, I used to write letters to my parents, my father in particular, and the letter would take 1 month to come from England to Abu Dhabi. By the time my father got free to write an answer, will take another 15 to 20 days, and to send it will take another month. So it will take about 2 months and a half to receive a reply from my father for the letter I wrote to him. And God helped me if I needed expenses in those days. By the time I get any money or any transfer, I would have been penniless for over 2 months. So you can imagine living in England with no money for 2 months. However, things were fine. We passed that age and we passed that situation, thank God. And thanks to Sheikh Zayed, he made it so easy for us today to live in a modern society with every comfort and insurance as far as our health is concerned. And that is why today we live longer than our grandfathers and our father. Education before Sheikh Zayed was non-existent. We had no schools. We had a primary school which was opened by the former ruler Sheikh Yaqut and run by few teachers, but we had no books, no textbooks, no water or electricity in the school, so it was just a gathering place for us kids to gather there, and the teachers would bring their own textbooks and teach us, make us copy from the board, whatever they thought was right for us. Communicating with our families and friends in Al-Ain or in Dubai, it takes us to start with, it was 7 days on the back of a camel between Abu Dhabi and Al-Ain. Then when the 1960s, late 50s, say 57, 58, some cars came to Abu Dhabi, most of them used cars and trucks. It will take us about 24 hours to travel from Abu Dhabi to Al Ain. And to Dubai, people go by boats, and it takes about 12 hours. By car, in 1960, it takes about 5 to 6 hours to get to Dubai. So you can imagine the difference between 6 hours by road to Dubai. Now it takes 1.5 hours. 7 days on the back of a camel to Al Ain. Now it takes only an hour and a half. So it's amazing. Then Sheikh Zayed started with the thinking about the federation and forming a United Arab Emirates. It took him about 4 years of really hard work, constant meetings with the rulers, and mostly he traveled to the Northern Emirates. He would stay in Dubai, in Kuwait there, and meet Sheikh Rashid and meet all the other rulers, talk about the future. It took him 4 years to fulfill his dream. And actually, his dream was our dream too. Thank God for that. And today we live in a federated and united country. Instead of being 7 emirates, now we are 1 country. We have relatives and in-laws in every emirate, and we live as Emirati instead of citizen of Abu Dhabi or Dubai or Sharjah. We are mainly now Emirati, and we talk with one tongue, one set of mindset, and we have 1 flag and 1 president, 1 prime minister. Thank God for what he did, because if we were left, or if we were not lucky enough to have Sheikh Zayed, we would have been swallowed up by our neighbors, and there will be no United Arab Emirates. We will be part of other countries, which we don't want. We are independent. We are now progressing, and we are ahead of any Arab country in the Middle East as far as our culture, our technology, our trade, our economy, our education, our health. As Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid would always say, that we want to be number 1. And thank God, after these years, we are number 1. And when we are following the example of Western countries, and instead of looking back, we look forward. Thank God we reached Mars with the technology that our generation, our young generation have achieved. And we are very proud of the fact we are Emirati today. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And we would open the floor for the students if they have any questions. Okay, or they can prepare their questions, and we would like to ask you, you had written 2 books, From Rage to Riches and Through the Eyes of a Child. What was the most difficult part of writing your books?
Which was the point? Sorry,
What
I
was
didn't hear
the
that.
most difficult? What was the most difficult part of writing your books?
I had to rely on personal contact with the elders, and so I had to go to their homes, I had to go to their offices, I had to meet with them, and I have to listen to their experience, mainly because there was nothing written except very little by the British, through the British archive, and the British archive is mostly political, not historical. So I had to go and visit my uncles and my my uncles and father's friends, sit with them and talk about during the pearl diving. How do they divide? How do they make a living out of pearl diving? And what was the material and the equipment used for pearl diving, for instance? Where do they sell it, and where do they, what they do? The pearl diving is only 3 months a year, so 9 months out of the year, what did they do? And those times were very difficult for them, and it was very difficult to write a book when you have no archive or no. I had no experience, and I had no written history to follow. So I had to make my own way. So it was difficult, but it was rewarding. I love it because I learned about my own country a lot.
That's really good. That's really nice. And like spending a lot of time with elderly and trying to get them talk, I know it's a hard part. Like usually, we don't hear their stories a lot about the past, and I think because yeah, what you said, it's a difficult time for them, so they don't usually like to talk about it. And we have the students asking how much time does it take you to write a book?
From start to
Mm,
end, took me about 18 months. 18 months, because first I had to do the research, meet a lot of people,
mm,
and second, I had to decide how I want to write it.
mm,
Even writing a book, you have to decide how do you want to write it, as a past or present or future.
mm.
That again taught me a lot of things while trying to research. And at the same time, uh, I'm not, although I'm a businessman, I'm not very good with remembering numbers and dates. So I
Mm,
had to go and fish out all the dates of events that happened in the
mm,
region during the 1900s. And alhamdulillah, I
wow.
found most of it. The rest has been wrote by other writers and researchers. So maybe I was the first person to write a book about United Arab Emirates, and thank God today we see a lot of younger generation writing, authoring books, and they contain a lot more information than my book has. My book was written
Mm,
over a period of about 100 years. The new authors, they have 200 and 300 years
mm.
in history. So this is interesting, very interesting.
We like that. And we have one more question from Mohammed Wissam. He's asking, what kept you motivated to achieve what you have achieved?
Uh, Achieved in the book or in my business life.
Mohammed, I think he's referring to the book.
Okay. Financially, I didn't achieve anything because I wrote the book for the sake of future generation, and I'm rewarded by the satisfaction that I authored the book, and my name is known among those who read the book.
Mm,
Financially, not much. It pays for the printing and the paper, so I don't spend more money on book on the book anymore. I get it published and it sells in the market in different languages. Now I know why most authors and famous writers, they never make a lot of money in the Middle East, because the Middle East is not a place where books are read, especially if it's in Arabic. Or to give you an example, we first printing of the book was 5,000 copies in English and 2,000 in Arabic. 5 years later, we printed something like over 200,000 English copies, and we printed only 5,000 in Arabic. So the Arabic books did not get read as much as the English. The English is more popular, more had more readers to acquire the book. So as a business, it's not a good business to be in the book business, but as history, as a responsibility towards the future generation, that's really worth it.
Yeah, it is a hard and difficult area to open a literature or books businesses, but the books that you wrote, especially the Abu Dhabi one, is something that is needed in the region, because as you said, we don't really have much that's said about Abu Dhabi, especially, and I think it's worth it. So we have, and then
Thanks.
the other question was that what kept you motivated to in your businesses?
Motivated mainly because we have I have a big family. We have 8 brothers, 4 sisters, and my father started the business so they can live in comfort and in ease. And he was the breadwinner. He was the owner of the business, and he kept us well. He sent us to schools. He looked after us as we grew up. We never had any problem with spending money or living in a comfortable house. So when he passed away, I took the responsibility that he had, and I treated my brothers and sisters as younger generation, and I had the responsibility of having to look after them. So my satisfaction is that, thank God, for 30 years, I managed to look after them, and they grew up, got educated, and went to schools and universities, and they started their own work and businesses. And after 30 years, I said, I worked for you for 30 years, and I was working and you were spending. Now it's my turn. You work, I'll spend. So it was a good arrangement. So, alhamdulillah, things gone well. I have not had one complaint from my own family to say that they were short on anything.
Alhamdulillah. That's really amazing. And we have our students, they have so many questions, but I know you're short of time and I know you have a busy schedule. So our last question for today is that what is your message for the youngers that are listening to you today?
My message today is there are a lot of messages I can send, but just to cut it short, is that no matter how old we become, we are still students of life. We must have, number one, a strong faith in God, in our country, in our family, and in our society. Secondly, we must always try to learn from others, from our elders, from those with experience. Ask questions. I'm very happy to see that your students are asking questions, because asking questions about life, about things, as a person will always learn something new. But if you keep quiet and you don't ask that question, nobody knows that you have no information, or you don't know the answer to your question that you have never asked. So do ask questions. Be courageous. Be clever. Ask question of anything that you don't understand. Ask your parents. Ask your friends. Ask your teacher. Because then you will learn about life and about how things are done. And read a lot. I know today we have the social communication, and we have the phones, and yes, we can enjoy that for fun, but really we must read about our history, about our present achievements, and we must read about the world, how it existed for so many years, with what happened, what mistakes that committed in the past, so for us to avoid in the future. So reading is a very important element in our life. And of course, faith and reading.
That's really,
Go ahead.
I mean, I'm sure reading gonna help students to be exposed to different experiences, to different ideas, to build their own perspective of life. And reading, like I know that His Excellency Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed bin Rashid is trying to promote this in schools with our generations. And we are really glad to have you here today, Your Excellency, and to give us this opportunity to talk to you and to discuss the importance of knowing your past and knowing where are you right now and knowing where are you heading. Creates that healthy, tolerant, coexistent generation that we're looking for. I hope that our students had a good time with you and they learned something today. And we look forward to have you in our events with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I would have loved to show you some photographs and give you a presentation, but that takes time. However, inshallah, next time we will get together and see more about our history and our future in the United Arab Emirates. Thank you very much, Manal.